That remind me of that go-go shit back in the day.
Okay. Was
Maybe
getting
that's
out.
just the mood that I'm in. What's up? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?
What up,
Oh,
though?
yo, baby, yo.
Yo, baby. Yo, baby. Yo.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Crucial Convos. It's your girl, F.L.O.R.
It's your boy, I. Emery.
I'm your favorite healthy hustling momager.
So,
Hi, Paris.
Bye, I Emery.
Dang.
Okay. Hi, Emery. We're gonna play nice today.
There we go.
it's a smile for me. Like, I'm not, like... Anyway.
Right.
All right.
Not with them dimples tonight. Like, he is on a whole different level.
Who's next? I hope the sandwich gone.
I think that's gone. He started on the jelly beans.
Okay, that was
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Let's go.
The jelly beans. What's up,
Jelly
everybody?
What's
Hey
happening?
y'all. Hey y'all. Feel like it should be Thursday.
Friday, you mean?
It's a different tea.
Right. A different thing.
Other than Tuesday. Okay.
Period. It do seem like
Bobby.
that. I agree
Sorry.
with that.
Bobby, what's up, man?
What's up, Bobby? Bobby.
Hey, Bobby. Let me with me.
Bobby.
What's going on tonight?
So tonight we decided to talk about absent grandparents. And this topic came to me because I was watching my homegirl page and she was just expressing how I think she got a 14-year-old and a 19-year-old. And she was expressing how her 19-year-old reached out, you know, to her paternal. Somehow or another, they were in contact. And the grandmother's response to it was, I don't chase my grandkids. My grandkids need to call me.
Oh, I've heard that before.
And that kind of struck a chord in me because a lot of people don't necessarily know my story, but I have a grandmother that chose to isolate my child. I'm gonna try to refrain from saying which child, but it might come out knowing me.
Right.
Call themselves, you know, keeping my kid at bay. I don't know if it was because of me. I don't know if it was because of the paternal's action. I call them bios. I'm not quite sure, but what I can say is bio didn't necessarily fight for proof. Bio didn't put himself in a position to make others know or respect my kid, right? So I've always been one to hold individuals accountable. That's just my thing. If you're gonna hold me accountable, I'm gonna spread the love and I'm gonna hold you accountable, right? So when I heard that, like I said, it really struck something in me because I don't understand how, as a grandparent, you can differentiate between your grandchildren. Like, that's mind-boggling to me because as a grandmother, even experiencing my son having a child with a woman or a female that I don't even like nothing, right? But it's all on her actions. So I can't see me taking that out on my granddaughter. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I can't see that. So then I go back to when, you know, the moms treated me different because I am the way that I am. We know me. I am me. And I'm very unapologetic for it. And because I wasn't in a space of kissing ass, then my kids got pushed to the side or ignored. Right? So my question for the whole point of this is why? We ask why, and we know that there's really not a logical reason, but I really want to know the mindset, right? Like, I need to understand the why for me to, hey Kia, for me to keep going, because never mind the fact that you're destroying that child. You know what I'm saying? Like, your goal to hurt that parent ain't necessarily registering. You know, so you're destroying that child. Is there any give a fuck from the damage that caused that, you know, that your actions caused that child? What's that, UP?
So, you know, when you came up with this topic, I came from myself. I wasn't even thinking about my daughter. So I've since thought of that. And I think, like, from my personal story growing up, if it wasn't for my grandparents, throw the whole world away. So when I say absent grandparents, I was like, what is that? Like, they obsessed with me. But then I realized my daughter, like, what I think because we have the privilege of having not only my grandmother, you know, her grandmother live with us. She's so all consuming and taking over of her space that I forgot that there aren't other people or other grandparents. But I think now all the why comes from different generations. Before, back in the day with us, the grandparents filled in the space for their kids, so they were involved. Then kids started having kids younger. Grandparents still had to find another life. So I feel like it's just now with Janelle, it's just different. The same way, or the why behind that has a lot to do with the folks that we have. For me, it has a lot to do with the person that I had kids with. If I did all the work, the other grandmother would be all over me, but it wouldn't be the healthy way because her priority was me, not the grandchild. So I think a lot of the reasons of why they're not here probably has more so to do with me because I could force them in here. It just wouldn't be the healthy version of parenting that, you know.
Right, genuine.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So like, okay, I know your mom is like totally different, right? So I know you can't speak from the perspective of mothers not being there, right? But as a guy, when you gotta choose between when he gotta choose between his kid and what his girl/mom is requiring or requesting from him, can you kind of break down for us like what place does that put that guy in?
It definitely if he hasn't done the work before the kids get here, then he's gonna be on his heels if his mom has that much say so in his life. And I think that's what does the most disservice to everybody is when you don't set those boundaries from the gate. There's so many people whose parents have too much authority in their grown kids' lives at this point. And so for a man to, like a young man, obviously, to not really know how to set the boundary, you know, mama's done a lot. I've seen her struggle, blah, 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 you know, and she's taking care of me, so I don't want to be disrespectful. And she's still here, blah, blah, blah. And she's normally not wrong. You know, I'm sure all of that plays a part into, you know, his decision or lack thereof. But then, just like you say, because there's a whole other side, that kid, you know, I think, I just think the overall setting that boundary was needed. And since it didn't happen, it still needs to happen. You know, if it didn't happen, you know, how it should have happened, it still needs to.
Right.
Because if not, the kid's going to suffer.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely forced me to have different conversations with my daughter sooner than I probably would have. But I mean, at the same time, those are lessons that are already out of the way. And I think, like, with her, I have the opportunity to really, you know, define what relationships look like for family and like how to fill in those gaps. As far as me, if people weren't there, you felt hurt. You know, I felt abandoned. You can feel the absence. I think now I'm better to have better knowledge, so I'm able to pour into my daughter differently. And that's just like recent. She's 10 now. So when it first happened, I'm like, how can you see her and not just want to be the same as my family? But now, you know, I know a lot of people just don't even have the capacity or the mindset to even realize that, you know, they're wrong, but it just creates a space for me to have better conversations with my
daughter. Let's jump to this comment right quick.
Denise.
So Denise said, I ain't my grandkids, but I'm assuming son-in-law family is absent.
Oh, that's nice.
They are late or don't show up for functions. either for selfish reasons or the personal demons they are dealing with. Every once in a while, they drop off a gift and give me bombastic side eye when the kids are close to me. But I've put in the time. We bake, cook, go out, and do stuff. I will sit with them and watch them play. And they have told me they remember the time we have done stuff. They remember it more than a random gift. Mm-hmm. Or I can't see the rest.
It probably whatever. It probably cut off.
Yeah, you're talking too much, Denise. Shut up sometime.
Leave it alone. Stop.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah. I think because I really feel like grandparents today still got one foot in the street.
Yeah, because they was young.
Mm-hmm.
But then age or not, you know what I'm saying? Back in our day when the grandparent was a grandparent, the grandparent was a grandparent.
Mm-hmm.
These ones now is called nanny, or they got these cool new names. Because in my opinion too, like I just put a status up the other day on Facebook that said, if you raise your children, you can spoil your grandkids. But if you spoil your kids, you'll be raising your grandkids. And that, if we look back, even if it's our life or just our friends or people we know, I feel like that is somewhat accurate to a lot of people's life. And so Granny now is in her 40s. You know what I'm saying? Or younger, but like, a granny now is just younger. They don't want to stay home and keep the kids nowadays. Things have just changed. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a good or a bad thing. Well, this part of the argument is not about if it's good or bad. I'm just really stating that things are just different now. So where there was a time when grandma was always at the house, but she had a man, or even if she didn't, she understood the importance of homemaking, which it doesn't include just her home. That means the kids that come with her, the grandkids that come with her, some of the neighborhood kids. That was more regular in our day. That doesn't really happen no more.
Well, I think we're seeing our generational curses come. Like the generations before us made choices. Some of them were super involved, kept that tradition, take care of the kids, help them. The other ones probably thought, you gonna raise this kid, did nobody tell you? I gave you all the choices. So now we're seeing, some of them mamas was like, that's your baby. Yeah, I'm young, I'm fine. We're looking, different things. So I think now it's just those consequences and those choices coming back. Some the different respects. Some people don't, their mom was like their friend. So they're probably a better mom to their kids than their mom could be. So, I think like we're just seeing the results of that split before, when stuff started to change, when the grandparents got younger, when you stop realizing like what's the big mama and big mama was only 20, like it's the same thing with cooking. Somewhere down there, women didn't, care to even learn how to cook or anything like that. So I think it's a lot of us seeing those choices and those curses trickle on down.
I know for me, I think each one of my kids have a different example of a grandma, right? Like, I don't think either one of them were exposed to a grandfather, but they all, I take that back. My husband, dad played that role to all three of them. I can honestly say that, like, they knew from him. But when it came to any other, I don't remember them ever being exposed or introduced to a grandfather. I have one grandmother that knows what it is and tries her best, but I think she still gotta be weary of wife, right? Like, I can't go too far because I don't want things to get shaky with wife, right? Yeah. So then I have another one where mom and wife runs it all. Like, there is no exceptions. Like, you're only going to move the way that they tell you to move. And then I have another one who really, 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 really wants to be there. I'm not going to say it's too late, but, like, the kids are adults. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a different role that you're playing at this point, because again, like, they're adults now. So for me, from seeing that, I wanted to be like Denise, the most active grandmother ever. Like, she gonna know who I am. I FaceTime her little stinking self every day, even though she act like a diva and don't want to deal with me. I take the abuse because that's my baby. Right. You gonna know who I am. So regardless, yes, I got one of those cool names. She called me Mimi because she couldn't say grandma, so we had to figure it out. Okay. So, but I was very excited to be a grandmother. Like, I was, because I knew that what I had to give. I knew I wasn't done with that loving, nurturing, mothering. Like, even though my kids were grown, I wasn't done. I felt incomplete. Like, me and Eric talked about it all the time. Like, we wanted another daughter, but our pockets didn't want us to have one. So we just didn't. We just stopped at 3. So when Tootie came, it was like, oh wow, like, okay, this is my chance at, having that daughter, and she not mine. I'm all about raising your responsibility because I had to. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have my baby got an amazing support system. I'm jealous of her support system. I ain't gonna front. But that's what she created. When she need a break, she can get weeks at a time. I never had that. I don't think I trusted anybody enough to even if I did have it as an option, I don't think I would have taken it because I was so traumatized, and I felt like what I had went through, I'm not going to get nobody no chance to do anything to my kids. And I think smothering them made them want to leave me as fast as they can, to be honest. And I mean that in a good way. Like, they don't swing on me. They call me, we do have that type of relationship. But as far as them actually being able to walk on their own too, I think I've done a good job as far as that. So I said that to say I have a lot of different variations of what a grandmother is. And I don't necessarily know, because my granny was my everything. Like, and she was my great granny. My grandmother is still living, but my great grandmother is who swooped me in and took me to church every Sunday and taught me how to cook. And the Bible says this, and if you do this, this is going to come back. And I'm talking about those really good wisdom, lessons. Like, I got that from my great granny because my granny was in the streets gambling. No shade, but that's the reality of it. Like, that I ain't keeping them kids. That's on you. Like, that's your, so I definitely had that type of grandmother who had one foot in the street. No, she had 2, baby. She had 2 in the moment. She was all street and still at 70 some odd years old, still street. You feel what I'm saying? So it's something that I learned, and it's unfortunate because the reason that they get the respect that they get today is because of what my great grandmother instilled in me. My mom was 15 when she had me. So my grandma kind of came in and, like you said, you raise your child, you spoil your grandkids, So my grandmother was the one who just was like, go do what you want to do. Like, I got her. Like, and I felt really bad that my kids was never exposed to that, which is why I give Tootie like it all. Like, I tell her, give me some of Tootie, and she suck a thumb. Give me some of Tootie, she put a thumb up to the camera.
You got that? I give you this.
Listen, like that's all I got for you. So it's little things like that, like Denise said. It's little things like that I've instilled, from the 2 years that she's been here, that I've worked to make sure, because I knew I was moving, and I knew, that she was going to have a choice to stay where she was, or so that was going to be a separation. I knew that was coming. I worked diligently, like, period. Let's hop into some of these comments.
Kia says, plain and simple, all I know is grandparents today are nothing like how they were back in the day.
At all. They can't be.
Everything is different.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna hold that one. Oh.
All right. Bobby says, I don't allow my child. What's that?
Okay. Insert.
Children, maybe? I don't know. Right.
He was going with child work.
Child work. I don't allow my child around certain people. And you have 3 chances after that is over. Or after that is over. If I don't agree with your lifestyle, you're cut. my child is not allowed around my girl's mom's side of the family. That's pretty heavy.
It is.
I might need you to come on here a little bit and explain a little more about it. Denise, my daughter and her husband are protective as parents too. I would rather the kids not be exposed to the grandparents and their shenanigans or being disappointed by them. So it's best that they're already around.
I
But that's the same thing, Bobby.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can relate to what Bobby and Denise are saying because before I've always, and that shout out to the village and my friends being a single mom saying like, you have to stand in the gap for Janelle and, operate on her behalf because she can't, it was my choices, all that. So I always had an open door communication with the other side of the family. But now we're in double digits. She's 10. We are wrapping this, on up this important time. So now it very much has transitioned into her choices. And it's so nice to see that she's learned like what I've poured into her as work. She's learned boundaries. So now I'm over there like, check on those people. She's like, why? I can check on the people that check on me, and I can't be mad. So now it's like, certain boundaries that I wouldn't have put in place because it's like, well, give them another chance. Like now, because of my daughter and because of the respect that we built for each other, you're not welcome. Like,
yeah, that's crazy you said that because my kid was very open to building a relationship with that side. And then the incident happened where she was like accused of just really weird things with siblings, right? Like it was just like really inappropriate things. And from that, there was no grace given. And it was completely cut off because I was that mom, reach out, it was one particular person who was always open and always accepted and acknowledged. And then it got to a point to where my kid was just like, nah, like I'm good with it all. Like I don't want, no communication with nobody. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm tired of being the odd man out. Like I'm just over it. And then I think that's why I was so protective over them, because if you hurt them, you're going to be exposed to a side of me that you just never thought.
Because people didn't protect us. So that's why it's so like, we can talk through this option and give you options on how we handle these people, because adults didn't stand in the gap for me when I was younger. I had to be around people that I shouldn't have been. So I think like, that's why I always push, like things are different and some of the good things from the past aren't here, but that's because change comes with a cost.
Yeah.
So now we got to realign and have the conversations like we do now to say like, yeah, we got rid of a lot, we changed a lot, but now we need to bring some of that old good stuff back.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem sometimes, is that when we're faced with something or something horrible happens to us, we do so far the opposite. It's really extreme.
Yeah.
We don't really mean much by it, but it really is extreme. Like, I understand the idea about don't check on people who don't check on you type of thing, and like older people, being more present. But I look at it a little bit differently, because you will miss out on that time being as stubborn as them, trying to match energy.
Right. No, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where, like, bringing them around, other family members, supervised, of course, is actually good life lesson talk.
Yeah.
You get to show them in real time some of the stuff you've always been saying. This is how your life goes when you do this, or these types of things happen to these types of people who are never, integral. They're always lying. They're playing victim all the time. They're lazy or whatever. You get to show them in real time. You go over there, you let them meet the kids and play a little bit, or however, and we come on away from there, and you call your granny. Call your granny first. She's not gonna call. It's just not gonna happen. Do you want a relationship with her? You can have some sort of relationship, especially as you're young. Because older people, it don't matter if it's right or wrong or fair or whatever. They don't see us as equals. They will never see us as grown, right? Or our kids, when they get grown, they won't see them as grown. That's just how it is. So if you want some sort of relationship, you have to push past you know, the pain that we went through, and because everything, our parents, for those of us who kind of going through some, you know, traumatic events, it appeared as if our parents didn't care, or that they saw stuff and just didn't do nothing about it or something. We're so different from that now. Most parents now are very observant, and even though we're observant, we still try to keep so much away from our kids with great intentions. I'll say we always mean well, but I do think it kind of shelters us and it puts us in this little box that things have to be great or things have to be good. I have to be pleased with it for me to operate properly, and that's not realistic in life. Some things will be horrible, and you still have to love on people. Some jobs, some bosses will be jerks. You can't quit because they're not fair or because they whatever. You know, like there's bigger to me. There's bigger life lessons with us sticking it out. I don't mean through abuse. Like trust me, I don't mean through the stuff that we've gone through. But our kids haven't gone through a piece of the stuff that we've gone through, and we still have them operating as if they're going through what we've gone through. That's what I'm saying. We need to make sure in our quest for making things better and making us all better, that we don't live at the extreme, because that's usually what happens after you have a boyfriend that be yelling. The next guy can't raise his voice. You know what I'm saying? Or however, whatever the horrible stuff was, the next person can't do any of it because it reminds us too much of it, and we kind of go too hard at times. We go too far to the extreme with the not making the kids learn what respect is from the gate, and it won't be reciprocated in every case. That's the reality of life. Like every time you offer respect, it won't be given back in the same manner. Not every time. Hopefully, most of the times it will, but that's just not a realistic thing. And you still ought to still do it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be that kind of a person, like I want my kids to be respectable, respectful young men. So you speak first. No, it's not cool. Yes, they should. Yes, I agree. But you only finna see them for 5 more minutes, and then we out. To be that person, and That's kind of how I raise my kids in that way. My mama's not she's not a granny. My mama, I remember a couple times she kept my kids overnight. It was not like it wasn't a lot, and she was like, "Y'all can bring them over here at like 9 o'clock. Come pick them up in the morning at 8." The first time we did it, and it's like, I don't want to come back over here at 8 o'clock and pick these little niggas up. They might as well just stay home. Mm. And then you do it again, and the third time I was like, you know what, mama, don't worry about it. I appreciate you. Whatever her reason was, I never asked. That's just not who she was. You know what I'm saying? But I still make them, hit her up, call her. She don't call them. She'll talk about them. I hope she don't see this. She gonna kill me. She'll talk about them. Not, they ain't called me. Like, the phone work both ways, though, lady. But I still make them do it. I throw a little something to her, like, this kind of goes both ways. But old people, it's not fair. But old people are old people, and you can just keep them where they're at instead of like not messing with them ever. Just give them a piece. That's how I look at it.
That's what you call grace. Go ahead, P.
Grace.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just like you said, it's like a lot of different legs and levels to like what you overall said. I think like for your mom, of course, that's somebody that's worth like, no, you're going to respect her because like of the respect that's instilled in you. I think now, like, just because things are different, part of us teaching them respect as they get older is learning how to respect yourself and understand like why it's so important for them to call your mom even if she doesn't call or understand different things. Like now there's other adults that you have to learn like a different type of respect because it doesn't have to be the same type of abuse that we experienced before because hopefully we're stopping it before it got that far. So I think now it's not as easy to say like they're older, they'll do it. That's what I was saying before. Like when she was younger, we gave grace, we gave open, you can grow as you get older. As I teach her how to respect herself, that changes with the different type of adults that she allows in her space and her atmosphere and things like that. It's not the same. There's, some people, and one of those just so happened to be her other grandmother. No, you don't have to be the one to reach out, because that's never, that respect or that relationship has never been built there. So I think, like, overall, yeah, if there's somebody worth there, if you can do that, it's just like the same marriage stuff. If you can save it, work on it, do it. I think there is like a lot more respect that should be given to our elders, but some of them.
Yeah. So I don't think that respect should be given because of your title. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think because you're a mom, you should be respected. Because you're a granny, you should be respected. Because you're a dad. Like, I don't. I feel like the work you've put in measures your respect level of what you would get.
Yeah.
Like, be it I'm right or wrong. That's just the way that I feel ultimately. And my children reacts to the way that people treat me, because they're so protective over me. So yes, you may be grandma, you may be grandpa, but if you're not putting in the work and showing them that you give a shit about me, they're not going to give a shit about you.
Right.
Period. That's why I say my people gain respect on what my great grandmother instilled in me, not for their titles. Because your title don't mean shit to me. You don't act like a granny. You don't act like an auntie. You don't act like an uncle. You act like a motherfucker in the street that really want beef with me. That's how you act. So yes, I am going to meet you at that same energy. Why do I have to bend over backwards because you're my aunt? And now you feel like you can treat me the way you want to treat me because you're auntie whatever? No, ma'am.
Right.
I pay
These grandparents is begging for money from their grandkids.
And I don't remember a time when you babysat for me. I remember you talking shit to me when I became pregnant. But I don't remember, like, for real, I don't remember you ever being like, all right, I got you.
Did you even have a sex talk? Look, forget, like, nope.
Like, I remember that's the one thing I asked my great grandmother, and she was like, don't you ever. Because she would have to describe and she would have to talk. She definitely wasn't in the mind frame, as I became an adult and thought back to, because I think about that all the time. We talked about a lot. And that was like that was the boundary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I talked to you about, the dirty in the street, this, that, and the third, but the birds and the bees, no, grandma don't know how to break that down for you, And I respected that because I respected her, she really wasn't mean. So when she said it, it was like, oh shit, I fucked up. Like, that's the feeling that I got. Like, oh, okay, I don't think I should ask about that, But I was a curious kid. You know what I'm saying? Because what I had went through. So it's like, okay, well, I didn't really at the time want to talk to my mom. So my grandma was the only thing that made me feel safe for me to, ask that question of. But Denise said,
niece was the opposite. I would offer to watch the kids, and they would leave them with me. What?
Okay, be missing.
I choked on my jelly bean. What? To come back a few hours later on the butt crack of dawn to pick them up. Then she said the other part. I agree. The title means squat. Yeah. No, Bernadette was not that way.
I definitely had to tell my mom a couple times, like, I actually like my kid. But I didn't. But then I learned how to, like, self-care, like, you need the break, and how that makes me a better mom. And I've had to talk women through, like, let that kid go. That's where them kids come from, because too much of a good thing.
Thanks. Bobby said, Denise, my child is already going to have to deal with me, which is a lot. Okay, let me let y'all know. That is my cousin. That nigga is a very.
We've gathered. I don't want no smoke, Bobby.
And my spouse's shortcomings was long. Deal with me and my spouse's shortcomings. There we go. As long as I can protect them. I'm not allowing her to deal with nobody else's either. You gotta step or step off.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because time.
I feel like, so I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, because I thought you was telling him that he needed to let go a little bit for them to see and experience, right?
I mean the whole conversation. I don't mean, so when I say respect, I don't mean butt kissing or do extra to make them like you type of stuff. I mean, from a kid to an adult, respect.
I know exactly
That's what I mean. And so, and that is awarded, but I'm saying that is awarded to anybody. I know the idea is respect is earned, but it's impossible. If you just meet a random person, they can't earn it. You have to give it from the gate. That's what I'm looking at respect as this your granny, she old. This your granddaddy, he old. Say hi. Go speak to them when you come in the room. Go say hi. I'm not saying you got to go hug them, sit on their lap, and bring up old stories. Go respect your people.
Oh, well, they won't even be in the room. So then it's
I
all
was just
good.
about to say, I understand wholeheartedly where you're coming from, but like what Paris said prior, you give your mom that on the respect that you have for her, right? Like, because yes, you're right. The kids do have to learn how to give that adult that respect. But if that adult don't show up, how the kid gonna give them that respect? How they gonna learn if they just expecting for that kid to call because they're grandparent or because they auntie and uncle, but they'll show up to no birthdays right in town. They'll show up to no graduations right in town. They didn't got the invitation, but it's always an excuse. It's always bullshit. But that kid log on to social media and see that granny or that auntie or that uncle at that other kid's function. You understand me?
Oh, that would tear my soul.
You understand me?
Yeah, and they see that, and then on the same time, they see that, and then when they're in person, they want the respect, and then they feel like I'm grandma, I'm taking them. Well, no stranger danger, so I think like right,
for real,
just because you're grandma, like we said hi, we did all that. No, you can't take her. Like
that's
like
no. So I don't think that in respect is the same, or at least how I'm.
Well, yeah, well,
how I'm talking
the same
about
thing before. Like, yes, of course, Janelle, if she walked in the room, if she could point her out, she would speak, and I would definitely say hi because I'm definitely from a place of like you respect your elders. Right. I'm the adult, I'll handle that. But I'm saying like in that, like we're no longer are the conversations happening like call your granny, do that because I'm like like we won't even be in the room. Yeah.
Scooping your kid up in the corner, making your kid feel uncomfortable because your kid ain't reached out to that particular person or whatever because they want to prove a point. You know what I mean? Like if of course if they walk in the room, they're gonna speak. That's how they've been raised. But there are some individuals that, like I said, will scoop your kid, pull them to the corner, and like P said, why you don't call your grandma? Why you don't call your auntie? Like, so what your kid's supposed to say? I'm busy. Like,
that's funny.
I don't know you. Like, why am I? Go ahead, B.
Right. Still, and I think even still too, like I think, and we're not necessarily disagreeing because even if those bad grandparents, and I think I've even seen Misha do that. If they turned around and really was on their stuff today, I wouldn't get in the way. But now you got an older kid, so now I'm like, yes, we're respectful. We have a respectful kid. You work on that. Like I wouldn't be like, oh no, you should have been here a long time ago. Right. So I think like what you're saying, we agree. It's just not that. I think before back in the day, it was kind of clear cut. Like your titles kind of held a little bit of weight because you were still showing up in some capacity. There was plenty of other stuff to matter, but you were still showing up where you like, but that's my granny. Now it's not, it's not the same.
I'm gonna tell you. So one thing I noticed about my mom when I moved her here, is she's a girl. It took me. I'm still.
We know.
Women need attention. That's you know what I'm saying? And so, and then I'm coming from, I think my place is different. I don't necessarily have the horror stories of a grandparent to lean on. So that's one big difference. And then I am raising boys into men where my focus is, respect for men is every single thing. You know what I'm saying? I promise.
Yeah.
So it's just so I like to fix problems. I think that's another guy thing. Not all. I mean, whatever. I love to fix problems. Love it. I like when something's up. Let's figure it out. There's a way. I just had me and Nate just talked the other day, like for real, for like 30, 40 minutes. Like you need to go into every situation thinking there's a way. Like to have that up under everything. So after something, the first time you try something, it don't work, you don't quit.
Right.
You just kind of regroup. So that's how I am. So even when it comes to women, and my mama is a woman who needs attention, I'll be feeling like I just talk to you. I mean, what are we doing? But okay, I love her, and I want her to feel, like to feel like I appreciate appreciate it, because sometimes some women, just people. I don't want to make it such a but I'm talking about ladies, old ladies. They need that reassurance sometimes, and you have to do it. You know what I'm saying? So since I've learned that, and it doesn't take nothing from me to, like I told Nate the other day, I was thinking about mama. I was going to text her. I was like, no, I was like, Nate, text mama and just say, hey, just ask her how she doing. He hit her up. She responded. She's real short. She don't really text well.
Yeah.
She's, real short, but then she called me that night. Nate called me.
Like it was a whole big thing.
It's a thing. It really is, for her at least. It's a thing. And the boys, they don't call me.
Right. Well, that's different.
That's not what they do. They be on their phone. They be thinking about me. They've told me. I don't know, whatever. So that's not something that they just gravitate towards, where it was kind of forced into us. So I don't force them like to do it regularly. But if I be like, hey, when's the last time y'all talked to Nana? They'd be like, well, Emery's kind of more on it than Nate. Emery, like, I talked to her like a week ago, blah, blah, blah.
This is too.
So Nate, I would like, Nate, okay, within the next day or so, you need to hit her up and just, whatever. So I'll be on that a little bit, because I just realized what it means to her. She don't hit them first. She doesn't. She probably never will.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But she's around, and she's, you know what I'm saying? Like, she is in their lives. She's over here. She comes. She, gets them a little, $10, $15 on their birthdays for the past 7 years. Listen, we only had 20 or 25, and she still do that for Christmas for our birthday. She give me and the girls $25. That's as far as she getting from us. But yeah, so yeah, I think I'm looking at it differently. Well, maybe not totally differently, but at least in that initial aspect, go first. Because as a man, you got to go. In most cases, you got to go first.
Yeah, for her. And that's because you just don't have the reference. And I think for your mom, like if you think of the cycle of life, like she's turning back into like a childlike heart and having an 83-year-old bestie. Okay, my mom, I realized the same thing. Like a lot of stuff now, she doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to raise anybody. Your kid's grown now. So the grandma gig is really easy, especially since she's done it the right way. So now it's like, dang, well, why they always out having something to do? Like how they end up places. So I realized for my mom, like because she had to work and do so much stuff and all that, now we have to teach him. Like I tell Janelle, like actually call her. Don't just send her a text or do that different thing, because before they were busy, they didn't notice. Now they want to have the friend, they want to be involved, and they don't know how to ask. They just think like, I'm grandma, you supposed to just where's the pictures and stuff. So like you said, that's important because you know why it's important. Now for us, when they don't have those examples, we have to say like, hey, do you know it's rare to have a grandma that's good, and you like
in
you
your life,
gotta call
for real.
them. It's
That's
rare
real.
because they have different ones where you're like, you're very right, you probably should not talk to that person, but that's definitely
Right.
part of the work that goes into a different type of parenting, because we have better environments. We have a place where your mom really can be cool. She ain't have to do, you would figure it out, so that she could be comfortable, so that it wouldn't have to be the same way it was like when we were younger. She doesn't have to be stressed out about anything really now. So
especially when it comes to them, I got them.
Right.
Kid said,
my mom always shows up and supports Ken. So yes, I definitely make sure she checks on my mom, and not to only reach out when she wants some cash out.
Because the fact that they know how to do it be killing me.
That is hilarious. However, her other granny doesn't show up after even being invited, so my child stopped reaching out. And that's that's the sad reality, because you can make them as they stay here. Like as they growing up, you can make them check out, check in, check out. But as you start talking to them, they're so I have some family that I'm not so cool with. They ask about the kids. They don't really ask about me. I still say, hey, whenever we're around, they know what so speak, make sure you're doing your part, but as far as reaching out, like I'll tell them about other people, how y'all are kind of explaining, you don't have to do that.
See, and look, he always wraps it back up to the whole
Because,
story. We're all
well,
together now.
well, because that to me is not is not showing respect. Them not hitting up the people that don't mess with you is it respect. So you're right.
We're saying the same thing.
My whole thing was, I think we were saying something different, or my argument was different because I was solely speaking about respect. You know what I'm saying? Like making sure that you do your part. If they old and mean or not, whatever, do what you're supposed to do because they've made it to be old. That's the other piece too. I don't want to filter how I feel about them, my mother or whoever, or the stuff that they're doing to my kid. I don't want them to feel that. I need you to have your own relationship. Y'all may be better than what mine is. And I want to make sure that so you do your part regardless.
I'm still back on one. Fossil.
Yeah.
Hit Denise up.
Oh, my bad. That's where I was at. So my mom was supportive of me even as a teen. She's still my number one now. She would be on the next thing smoking for any of us. So it really boggles my mind that parents will kick out their kids or not be a part of their grandkids' lives. My sister-in-law was in shock when she met my mom and how my mom embraced her kids and is more present in the kids' lives compared to their bio dad's side.
It's not that common.
So that's crazy because I feel like that's how my mother-in-law is. Like, because of course I brought two kids into the relationship. So my mother-in-law really didn't have a choice, if you will. I mean, she did, but she didn't.
Yeah, not really.
So then after that, little Eric came. So technically little Eric is her first, grandchild. So she met little Eric when he was 5, and then she met him again when he was 17. Right? So that's the one that I was speaking of that really, really wants to be there. But our lives were like, we was just busy creating over here to where the time wasn't there for us to create with her like it is now. You know what I'm saying? Which is why we're in Arizona, to bridge that gap and to make sure that she do get what she deserves because she put in that work. Like, it's as simple as that. My kids wouldn't give me what I get from them if I ain't put in that work. Like it just wouldn't. It just wouldn't be like Kia said. Sorry, but my kids will not speak to anyone that disrespects me, and that goes for family too.
Yeah. And I just think like part of it is always pushing. What's also different is back in the day, there are still like folks my age or older who are just coming out about family members molesting them and touching them and not having the language. Now my daughter is 10 and I've talked to kids who come up to me who want to tell me like, I used to have a bad mom, now I got a good mom. They're able to use that language and get help faster, which is unfortunate because now people are like, they're 6 and they're talking about it. Thank goodness somebody was able to figure out the words because it's happening to them. So I think like some of the respect and expectations that we have for titles or people, they don't deserve it. And I think like we can talk about and want to live in the dreamy old past of how we respected those people, but some of those adults didn't do it. There's some adults that I respected way too long because of how I was raised, and how you respect your elders shouldn't have cost a long therapy bill, some other pain. So I think like how we talked about before, there's some good parts of the past. There's some good part of the grit. There's some good part of the lessons that we learned back then. The challenge is now like the transition. We can't keep saying like, well, back in the day, I mean, we're not there. So like what are we going to do now? These kids are way smarter. Kids come up to me, say things that I literally have to say like, so tell me more. Ask me more questions. Like, and that's only because of the greatness and the knowledge that we're continuing to pour into them. We just have to remember to pour the balance and not, like you said, Emery, we go so far to the extreme and then we're confused why we don't have the same respect or these principles. Is because we hyper focused on something else and we didn't think about the other parts or things that are important. That's why the foundation, now I'm like, the foundation things, the good person, like the stuff that really matters is what's important.
A bunch of our kids are kind of too involved with our lives. And I think we've made it that way because we're single parents and they hear us talk, and that's another outlet or like another way to talk to your kids or what type of thing. But I think that puts them in the wrong place when it comes to being a child. If it's done right, if God is pleased, whatever, however that works, you're going to be grown way longer than you're a kid. So stay a kid as long as you can. I'm not saying keep things from them, but I do believe sometimes we have they hear us talk about too much deep stuff that they shouldn't be concerned with. And they can play it off, be color, and act like they're not listening. They are. And but because I think we've put too much in front of them that they can't really handle, and then so they're going to want to handle it how we would, and that's not their place. I remember when Emery was little, especially Emery was wild when he used to get whooped, he kicking stuff, right? One time Shay was getting his butt, and she was pregnant with Nate, and he was flopping. That nigga was a flopper, buddy. And he messed around. He almost kicked her. I almost lost my mind. It was like, for various reasons. But, I'm like, that's your mom. That's my girl. Not the same. Like you have to keep that in your mind because he was mad afterwards. He was mad. Well, why she with me? I was like, well, you did whatever you did to get the whooping, my G. What you mean? But he was like more mad, and I didn't want him to try to respond how I would, because I know he watched everything I did. Like I said, I'm sure he's heard me. I'm sure he's heard me talk to my brother about her when she get on my nerves. I'm sure of it. And I noticed that time, it was lingering. So I said, go in there and talk to her. So you ain't gotta tell me nothing. Go talk to her. Like explain what's up. Go talk to her. So, but you have to. You can't go in there like I would. Cause I go in there like, yo, what was that? That's your mama. You're not going in there like that. You need to go in there humble. But if we've exposed them too much, they'll start to reason how we and if we're not wise enough, we'll encourage them to respond how we do. Instead of, you know what, I understand how you feel. Things have to be different, but you're not gonna disrespect your parent, your mom, your whoever. You're not gonna do that. You give it to me, I got it. Now you can stop stuff and you can not talk, or you can ignore or something like that if it's in the moment, but you will not disrespect. Period. That's how I raise mine. You're not doing it. And I think it helps them understand where you're at. You're still a child. And me saying you're still a child doesn't mean you don't have feelings and you don't have whatever concerns and stuff like that. But we're going to figure out a better way for you to express it. Because if you get disrespectful, I'm on your head. Period. That's how I roll. I mean, with everything.
I feel that even with me and Rhonda, even when we stand, my children still don't disrespect her regardless. You know what I'm saying? It's normal. Like, did they hear conversations? Absolutely.
I know mine did.
They were privy to breakdowns and, all of that. Was it intentional? Of course not. It's just where it happened and they just so happened to be there. But I also think, like you said, like it exposes them to the reality of who that person is, despite of. You feel what I'm saying? Like they can front for you, but you ultimately see that they're not doing what you feel a grandmother should do. I don't feel like grandparents should punish the grandkids because of the way they feel about their kids. You feel what I'm saying? Because you're mad at me, you don't want to reach out to my kids. You don't want to show up for my kids. Like that sets a tone.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Like they don't forget about that shit. Like I said, especially when they see you on the screen with the other ones. Like, it don't help.
That's crazy.
It don't help. I was talking to my aunt probably about a month ago, and she just looked at me and she was like, "Yo, you'd have been through a lot in half." She said, "And you'd have made it through it in half."
Right. So far, so good, my nigga.
Why haven't you ever like used drugs as a way out? Random question, right? But it really made sense to me at that time. I said, despite of what I go through, my mind was always said that I'm too good to go there.
That's what's up.
Period. No matter how hard I grab a bottle, I grab a blunt, but I can't go no deeper because I've seen the damage that it causes. My life was obligated to my kids, despite of my trauma, despite of my hurt, despite of my brokenness. I was obligated to fix that, to be the best woman and mom that I could be for my husband and my kids. So I never seen drugs in my ingredients, in my description. It was never an option for me, so when she asked me that, it really made me think how some people are weirdly strong. Not that they choose to be, but you got to also be strong to step up and tell your kid, despite of what's going on in this side, you still got this here. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you probably don't understand why you went through the turmoil that you went through until you get to that lesson that whooped your ass and you finally learn from it. So when it's time to express how that next one should receive it, it's easier for you. Don't always think that it's going to be shaped in the rainbow that you want it to be shaped in for you to understand or see what it is. It may not be. I am a really big believer in patterns. Life is all about patterns.
Me too.
All about patterns. If you pay attention to the patterns, you can solve the puzzle very quickly. You ain't got to keep going through starting over. Oh, shit, I lost a corner piece. You're going to fix that outside first because that pattern worked for you. Work your way in. I don't know. I just feel like being a grandmother, in my opinion, is the absolute best title that I've ever had. It means more to me than mom. It means more to me than wife. It really does. And I don't understand how some people can negate or take that, for granted. I really, really don't.
It happens too often, man, because them grandparents, they have never gone through the healing process from their life. Like, we only know them as Granny. We don't know them as Gertrude.
But you can only bullshit us for so long, right?
I'm not giving them an out.
No, I know. I'm just countering.
I'm generally saying that everybody's going through. Now, if you're the victim of the person going through, we don't necessarily look at it like that. But everybody's got mess. And a lot of folks, most Black families haven't gotten healing from whatever, from Big Mama that died, them getting raped, them whatever, because they say time heals all wounds. That's not true. And so hurt people end up hurting people. And if, well, you said, I said it earlier, when I was talking about earlier, was grace. That's kind of what I'm, where I come from with everything, making sure that we understand that they just as messed up, if not worse. And you can understand that and still not mess with them. Like, you can understand what's going on and still not be around them and still not, I'm really trying to speak from the other side, because
no, I feel you.
Grandparents, I don't think them grandparents necessarily mean to be a jerk or mean to be mean. I don't think most of them. I think it's just a response from, what was the parents that said there earlier, just our consequences. They didn't choose to go left when they should have, way back in the 70s. This is still some of the result of them going right. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's not a pass, but I guess I am throwing that grace around.
And I get it, but at the end of the day, I'm tired of hearing that same old shit. It's like, go and really, really deal with it. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because if I come at you from your reaction, you just gonna your first reaction is gonna be Misha's disrespectful, right? Yeah. But in reality, I'm standing up for myself. I'm defending myself because you feel like you can say and do whatever you want to do to me. Because I haven't sat down and dealt with my issue that I had with you at 13, 14 years old. Any and everything you say to me right now at 42, I'm a snap. So I'm kind of, I hear you and I agree with you. All I'm saying is I'm over hearing hurt people. It's way too many tools for them to actually seek help and fix what they fucked up. Because it ain't only your childhood trauma. It's you carrying them patterns into your adulthood and making that work for you too. But it's not going to always work for you with everybody in your life. So at some point, you're going to have to really stop because you're going to notice everybody's disappearing. You're the common denominator. Mom, dad, granny, grandpa. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to continue to do it the way that you've done it, the way that you've molded your kids. And then you look at us and wonder why we do it because the pattern didn't work for me. I had to alter my pattern for it to work for me. I'm not living my life for you. I got to make it through my hard days that ain't got shit to do with you. But if I solely focused on you, how am I going to navigate through my bush, my maze? You know, like, I just wish that more kids was honest with their parents. Not in a disrespectful manner. It don't take that. Just honest. Stop enabling your parents and your grandparents. Really admit to where you're hurt. Really admit to where their actions, what it does to you. Now, again, I'm not saying disrespectful. And I don't feel like being honest with them is disrespectful. That's how they feel because
they take it. They definitely take it that way. It's not being honest or answering back, unless you know when you're doing it. You know what I'm saying. But responding is not being disrespectful, even though parents feel that way. I felt that way. I've had to check myself. I've said some things, especially to Emery. Emery getting smelling himself a little bit. But I can do it how my daddy would have did it, and I can lose him how he lost me for a while, or I can just shut up a little bit. Because if I listen to him, he's not saying, well, nigga.
Right.
He was like, I don't know, daddy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so not allowing them to speak is not respecting them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I'm huge on that. You have to give it. You have to, like, these kids, man, they're so, I don't know, man. And we mess them up because we put all our stuff on them, not trying. We mess these kids so soft. That's another conversation, I guess. But
I think we mess them up, but we build them up at the same time, right? So we mess them up.
Right.
Yeah, but then we pour so much wisdom into them on the flip side of it, where sometimes they do look up and they blow your mind because you like, damn, you was actually listening. Huh?
Oh, the kids get it. They definitely do. They don't have enough opportunities to show us that they got it. You know what I'm saying? But them kids really listen. So a lot of it do go in and out, but if you've been preaching the same thing, they hear you. I know for me, still to this day, my daddy's voice is in my head. Still to this day, when I'm doing something stupid or I'm about to, swear to you, it's still right there. Now, I can ignore it a lot better. Right. It's definitely still there, but that's because he beat that stuff. He kept saying, no, you don't do this. You do it. You don't lie. You be honest. You don't steal. You don't kill. You don't whatever. All the stuff. All of it's there.
Privilege.
I take it.
Yeah. No, I think, all of that, that's why I was smiling and smirking because you always come back around. But I think like the difference, especially which I'm living and learning out loud with my daughter, I stand boldly in the privilege that I create for her. And I work double time to stay ahead of her, doing that respect and being respectful to people. She won't even be in environments where she'll have to be disrespected because, just because of the work that I'm doing, because of all the stuff we learned before. So I think now a lot of that you had I think all three of us come from a different type of privilege when it comes to talking about this. You have a dad that you can hear back there. My dad, no. Let's replace that with granddad. Other people, you've used tools, Misha, to be able to talk and figure out your feelings. And even for me now with the different situations, like I think of everything that God places us in the right place at the right time. I dealt with stuff with my dad and grandparents. So now Janelle not only forgetting on the respect, she sees me apologizing and respecting elders. She sees me dealing with a difference between a good adult and a bad adult. And I'm not mad. My daughter definitely does not have to respect people just because of their title, but she won't ever be the type of disrespectful child that we used to speak of. So it's not even a thing.
I think that's what. So every time you say like they don't have to respect, I swear it pulls a little something in my soul. Because I think you mean it how you mean it, like in that broad way, not like or like more like in a specific way than the broad spectrum of respect that I'm saying.
Just like I'm gonna say it the right way because I think the way you
no. Yeah. There's no right or wrong. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No, I'm not. That's because like the way I think yours, like when you say it, you combine the two thoughts to me, and some of those ones I think like some of that importance of that old school respect, like the way it's defined is just shown differently. And it's just because of our different experiences.
Yeah, but so that's where I'm saying I don't think I have come around, quote unquote. I think I'm still saying respect has to be given, like regardless, in my opinion. And the respect I'm talking about is not being cool or hugging them type of stuff, like just acknowledgement.
You're calling them, even when
that as well.
You don't call them; they should call her.
Yes, that's something that. Right. That's so exactly. That's my point. So it's not the exact same. I think the overall idea that we all agree with respect people, right? Overall, this is how it is. Y'all are more like if they don't show you respect, you ain't got to give it, and that's where y'all coming from. So it's like that's where the difference is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna make my kids call my mama, they mama. Like I'm not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? And then it's even worse if I'm not gonna do it. Right? Like if I'm not gonna call them, I'm definitely not gonna make my kids call them.
Oh, that's right.
I'm not. Who cares? If you cared enough, you would have reached out. I asked about her when I saw my brother. How's mother? Mother's great. Awesome. We moved on to the next thing. I acknowledged, I questioned, and I moved forward, right? But that pattern works for me. I can trust him. I know he ain't gonna be like, oh, she was rushed to the emergency room just to get me to reach out to her. He respects those boundaries, right? So it's not that I hate her. It's not that I love her. Like that's my mom. But again, my pattern that I realize that works for me is disconnect. That works for me. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, like that for a long time. And they grew up in that. So there was never really, at a point I was like, call your grandmother, it's her birthday. You know what I'm saying? Call your nana, it's her birthday, it's, Mother's Day or whatever. But again, like they grow up. So once they grow up and they ain't living with me, I can't call them and be like, shit, I'm asking them, begging them to call me. I don't care. I really don't care if they call you at this point.
They don't call your mother. Right. They will not call.
Call your mother.
You don't have to call.
Hey, but you do.
They better, right?
It's for those of you who have grandmothers that show up, who have villages that show up for you and don't request nothing, but you be great. Hats off to you. Like you don't understand how blessed you are because it's a lot of us.
My granddad.
Like it's a lot of us that have never been privy. I got an amazing village. Don't get me wrong. My circle is dope, but my circle came later on. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like my circle came when I needed my circle the most, which is when my kids left. That's when I needed my circle. and they showed up right when I needed them. So I can't apologize for the help that I need help for me. Like, that's where I am right now. Help me get out of this mommy mode. Help me step into Misha mode. All right, turn up. Okay, we finna meet here. Oh yeah, this is what I like to do. You know, even being I'm probably the coolest granny y'all are meeting y'all life. I'm just saying. What's up, sister?
Paris might be.
No, I'm just already to my. I think like what's so important to me because we all have valid points, and I think when I think of absent grandparents, I'm always going to ask why first, and then I always push like a lot of the things we talk about. Like people can make mistakes and come back from that. I don't think it's always a great history or grace or forgiveness shown in that. And I think part of what I push for being a healthy adult and a healthy human is like ask the why and really give your others the same grace you would want to receive. We all are one choice away from making some of these same decisions and ending up there, but I think
That's real.
definitely for me, as I continue to work hard on some of these topics, they just look different now that I'm older. I'm really just pushing towards like what I think to be right that aligns to my soul and, my moral compass. And as long as it's with that, it's right. I could push all day. Like we talk about, like not about the abuse, but I think sometimes brushing off of those little things that matter and while like disrespect can be okay. I think it just forces me to be like, no, let's talk about like you probably should have disrespected that adult, like all of that stuff or whatever. I think sometimes it's too hard now. We see too many bad things to just say like, I mean, we ain't talking about that. No, we probably should talk about that because it's a lot of like, those little different things that matter. The why matters.
The why definitely does matter. It's just they don't find that logical reasoning, if you will. They just throw out bullshit, which is why it makes it like, whatever,
Yeah.
So
I definitely have a family. I have family members that I do not talk to. Right, hurts my feelings, but
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, we read that one.
You fine.
I ain't mean to.
But no, I don't talk to them. I will reach out like maybe like birthday or so, out of respect. Like I'm saying, so my out of respect. I don't mess with them, but out of the respect from what was there or whatever reason that has me still doing it. I have some other people in that category as well, whose secrets will remain safe with me, never, bring none of that stuff up. I ain't messing with them. You know what I'm saying? But wait, I feel like wait, are we doing the takeaways? Because that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
You're not doing that yet?
We're starting
to
wrap us up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Usually I'll introduce it, but you kind
of. Yeah, I know, because that's where I'll go first then. We have to give respect to human beings, and that encompasses everybody. I don't think respect doesn't mean that you have to be cool or have to be aces or kiss their butt or be around. But that is a huge thing for me. And so those absent grandparents, in the way that you described them, because I was blank just like you were, Paris. I didn't really understand. Well, I wouldn't say I didn't understand. I thought you were coming from a different angle completely. But when it comes to the grandkids of our kids, and them not being there, get your life right. Get in them kids' life. Like, for real. Like, stop whatever you got going on, grandparent. If you listen to this, whatever you got towards the mama, or because the baby exudes some of the same stuff that the mama or daddy had, whatever you are, get over that stuff. You getting up out of here. You're gonna be up out of here. You want to make great memories. You want them to have great memories. You want them to know and love that, and know the you that's beyond the hurt, that's beyond the anger, that's beyond the unforgiveness. You want your grandkids to be better. Like, your job isn't done. You have grandkids. Get your life right. Get in them kids' lives. I don't understand. Like, well, I guess I understand, but I think not the wisest decision to not be in your grandkids' lives, especially when you have access to them. When you're in the same city, or when you're within an hour drive or so, whatever, and you're not there, like you making them call, like you can only talk to them if you call. If they call. As a grandparent, get your life and get in them kids' lives. That's my takeaway.
Pete?
So I kind of said part of mine, but I think the why definitely does matter. And then listening to the three of us, I think it's important, especially if you're dealing with absent grandparents, to really define what respect looks like and what titles mean and the dynamics of your family. Because some of us, we're talking about grandparents. Some of us got to start with like the parents, get your life, get in there. So, I think especially for my situation, I stopped having grand expectations for the grandparent level because the dad wasn't there. So it's like, where do we go? So I think the why matters. I think like we didn't have enough conversations back in the day. It was just respect, 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 and you had to figure it out. And sometimes that became unhealthy. I think that's why I always got to push back. So the why matters, and having healthy conversations with our kids and talking about the appropriate age and how we respect elders and ourselves, I think is so important as we defined it. So like always, just talk more and have real conversations about what this looks like for the unique dynamics of your family.
My takeaways to the grandparents.
Tell them.
Get your life.
I just feel like y'all set yourselves up on fuck around and find out avenue. And then y'all sit back and wonder why they busting y'all windows out and running off. Right? It's really all in the way that you set it up. So you can't really be mad that the bitterness inside of them, because mind you, like Paris said, it ain't only the father that dipped out, but you joined him or her and dipped out, right? So this kid just don't even understand where they come from.
Right.
I'm gonna say continue to do you. Whatever makes you happy, because you done all that you had to do, as y'all like to say, continue to do that. Okay. But when you see my hard work on that TV, don't you dare pick up the phone to say, you remember me? Because I'm gonna probably be the one to answer, and I'm gonna say no. And I'm gonna hang up. Okay. So the same energy that you led with and kept, remain with that. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Just be real about it. Don't request more from that child when you're the leader. Don't do that. But with that being said, I really appreciate you all for joining us on this episode of Crucial Convos. I am your girl, F.L.O.R.
It's your boy, Emery.
Your favorite healthy husband, Mama Jer.
And y'all know where we'll be next week.
Where will we be next week? Where will we be?
Yeah. Right here.
Right now.